This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I share marketing and sales strategies with you that work both in the brick and mortar and in the digital space. And today I'm going through the third and final strategy in a mini series that I started. The very first one, I talked about the mindset of growing your business. If you're not where you want to be, you really have to do the mindset work first of, what is it that I want? How do I want to serve people? Where do I need to be in my space? Because when it comes right down to it, nobody has extra time to do more marketing, or we'd be doing it, most likely. But if you're going to keep doing consistent marketing, which is what it's going to take to be successful, you better believe in it. And that needs to be there first. So that's where we covered in number one. Number two, the second one that we just did, was mapping out your marketing. Really looking at what, first of all, is content marketing and how it's so a big piece of the relationship marketing that I talked about in that first podcast. And it's your way to, get into the hearts and the heads of your ideal customers and create authority and credibility in front of them by delivering value and giving them exactly what they want, and monitoring how much they do want it by how much they share it and like it, comment on it, or ask questions about it. Those are all pieces of mapping out your marketing, but we really didn't get into now, how do you create the copy? How do you know what to write for content? I mean, literally word for word, and what words to use. You can pull out your thesaurus and come up with all kinds of things, but it's not necessarily about sounding as intelligent and smart as you can be. It's not about telling people what you know, which is kind of something we're guilty of a little too often, that you're just so excited to share what you learned and how much you know and how smart you are with your clients. And really, what they want is the solution, the one solution to the one problem that they have. And they don't care what kind of language you use or what workshop you went to. What they care about is that you have the answer or you don't, so that they can stop wasting their time if you don't. So let's talk about how you attract them. How do you know what will attract? First of all, you really have to nail that avatar. We talked about that in the first set, or the first podcast of this series, so I won't go through that. But what I want you to do now is put some systems in place for following up. And let's say you're in a situation where people cancel, they stop personal training, or they don't renew. And if you're not asking them why they're not renewing, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I know it may seem like, I'm so glad they're gone, but they weren't your ideal client. And if that's happening too often, the words you're using are not doing what they should be doing. Now, depending on where you live, and if you live in a super small town in Alaska, for instance, you may not have the luxury of doing this, but we really ideally want to attract the ideal people, and we want to repel the wrong people. And that'll just make sure that you are working with people you love and can help, and that they will find ultimately the people who can help them if you're not it. So looking at people who quit, this is a perfect example. Putting in place systematically, ideally automatically, automating an email that will go out, you trigger when they cancel their personal training or stop training and do not renew, then it will go out to them asking, why did you stop? What did you like about training? What would have helped you stay in training? You create a 3 or 4 question, very short, open-ended, if possible, responses, so that they actually can write in whatever is true as opposed to multiple choice. And if you keep it short, that will work, because people do like to give feedback. And you might want to ask them why they started, what was their biggest challenge, and what did they want help with, why are they discontinuing, and what would have made it better. Some simple questions like that can be enough. And ask for their gender and for their age. You don't even have to ask for their name. But what you want to find out is, are you underserving a certain niche? They're getting in, expectations are this, and they're not getting it. And if that comes up a lot, you've got an issue with that particular avatar or customer that you're trying to serve. That's one way to put a system in place. Another one would be, if you have more staff, you have someone who can call and follow up, or you have the possibility of hiring a third party, it always works better. If it's not somebody in your organization, but it's somebody now who could follow up and say, can you tell us more about that? What was it like training? What do you wish was different? And this is where you're going to get the feedback. If your trainers are late or you are late and you think it's not a big deal and your customer wasn't upset, so you think it's fine, when really they were quite upset, but they just didn't tell you. And that's where it's worse. If they say nothing, but they just don't come back, that's the worst. You'd much rather have them complain. And I know at the moment it can be really unpleasant, but at least at that point you can fix it and you can, give them a complimentary session because you were late, comp them half of the session, offer to go late if they have that flexibility. There's a lot of things that could be done to try to make that right for them. And if you do over and above, a lot of times you can turn that into a win for yourself. But calling and following up is a better idea if you have a third party person who can say, I'm calling on behalf of XYZ. I don't work with them, I work for them, and we're just trying to collect some data on our customers and getting to know them a little bit better. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions? And they will most likely be much more honest with a third party than they will directly with you. So email, phone calls, super simple, right? In terms of creating that marketing strategy. You can also create simple polls. You can use SurveyMonkey, create an easy little poll that goes out to your customers on a regular basis as they're starting a program and then at the end of a program. So you can gauge, what made them get in, what are they excited about, what do they want, what are their hopes, and then you can also poll afterward and find out an entirely different mindset. Did they reach their goals? Maybe not, but you'll know, and you'll know the expectation of the class that you had set up. Did it reach the expectation that the customer had in their mind? And those kinds of things are valuable. You can do them, again, automated by email, sending out that SurveyMonkey, and just have it ready to go as soon as you tag someone who's, stopped or ended a class. Easy enough to do. And it's a one-time setup thing that most of us are not taking the time to do. I know this from working with customers who have constant contact and or who have MailChimp, and they're just not following up to survey their customers afterward to see what were the results, what were your feelings about it. Are you likely to refer somebody else to this program? What would you say if somebody said this costs too much? Questions like that are priceless. They'll give you back, the real dirt. And that's another way to automate simple, sane marketing strategies is send out an email that requests a video testimonial and make it a contest. The best testimonials, we're going to have a panel of judges, and you'll win 6 months free membership or free towel service or free protein shakes, or you declare it. It's totally up to you, but you want to have something that's incentivizing them to give you feedback. If you have those customers who sing your praises and just love you and buy whatever you want, they will be happy to do that kind of thing. But all of these things are going to come back to the very same thing. They're going to give you the words that the customers use, the language that the customers use, because they're going to write it in their own words. They're going to say it out loud, or they're going to say it on video. And that's what you want to capture, is what are they saying? What words are they calling themselves in terms of what were their problems when they began, and what words are they using when they talk about different body parts. I mean, you may say, your upper arms or your belly fat, but they may say something else, and you want to use their terms, not yours. That's it for this little 3-part series. This is a huge part of successfully attracting your customers. And when you hit that sweet spot, you get people in your group who, as you go around and you have them do introductions, and they will say, I chose Deborah because da 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 da. And several of them will echo and say, well, I agree with what she said, and that was exactly the way I felt. You've got just what you need at just the right moment. You've got people who are feeling the same, thinking very similarly, and their expectations about you and what you offer are perfectly matched with what you can deliver, so that you know that they're going to get results. That ultimately is win-win-win all the way around. And it's not going to end, because they're going to stick with you and wonder what's next, so you can create your next program, because you'll already know what that is.